So Maggie Haberman is coming out with a book, and in this book we find out that Donald Trump has been criticizing Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie for their weight. So we're going to get into why maybe Trump shouldn't be throwing stones in a glass house, but the upcoming book is called Confidence Man: The Making of Donald Trump and the Breaking of America. According to the book, Trump has made several disparaging remarks about Chris Christie and Ron DeSantis. But here is how Trump responded when Haberman asked him about Chris Christie. I was compared to Chris Christie? Why? I didn't know I had that big of a weight problem. Shocking response from Mr. Trump. Trump recently went after Chris Christie's weight after he gave an interview saying that Trump left the FBI no choice but to raid Mar-a-Lago. So with that criticism, he decided to respond with this photograph posted on Truth Social. Chris Christie at a Roy Rogers at 11 p.m. in the evening trying to console himself. Great. So I think maybe Donald Trump was just like so angry, he may have taken his plate of chicken nuggets and ketchup and thrown it against the wall again when he heard this about Chris Christie. So more comments about DeSantis. Haberman also wrote that she had learned of Trump using similar terms to describe DeSantis. She also recalled learning from sources that Trump had called DeSantis fat, phony, and whiny, while also taking credit for the latter clinching the governor's seat in 2018. Some people would say that there are other men you could describe with the adjectives fat, phony, and whiny. Let's watch.
They also gave me a defective mic. Did you notice that?
No.
My mic was defective within the room.
But I'm also approving new dishwashers that give you more water so you can actually wash and rinse your dishes without having to do it 10 times. It was like an ice skating rink. I said, General, there's no way I can make it down that ramp without falling on my ass, General. Turned out to be worse than anything. I would have been better off if I fell and slid down the damn ramp.
I am a whiner, and I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining until I win.
Yes, I'm a whiner, and I keep whining and whining until I win. And he's calling DeSantis fat, phony, and whiny. Cenk, what do you make?
Yeah, okay, so let's talk about fat, phony, and whiny. We just showed you a clip there with plenty of wine, right? But what does Donald Trump do? 24/7. Wine. Hey, wine! The 2020 election, the massive dumpster coming out. I think someone's to crack it. I should have won. Okay. Oh my God. Letitia James is being racist against me. Everybody's against me. Oh, the deep state's against me. Oh, I would have done everything if it wasn't for the deep state. Wine. He's born spoiled little brat. His dad spoiled him his whole life. I mean, he wasn't bright to begin with, but when you add the spoiled on top, he's just a whiny little bitch. That's his main description. Everybody knows, like, the biggest whining bitch in America is Donald Trump. Everyone knows that. So him going around going, can you believe someone else is whining? Why? You wanted a monopoly on whining, and that's why you're bitter about it? And phony, I mean, again, the poster child for phony. He had a fake university. He had a fake charity. He had 6 fake businesses. He had actually dozens of fake businesses, 6 that happened to have spectacular bankruptcies. Everything about him is fake. He had a reality show where he pretended to be a smart businessman. Nothing's more fake than that. He bankrupted literally every company he has ever run. His whole life is described by the word phony. Total, utter con man. And then fat. Look, guys, with Chris Christie, I joke around, and as a preface to it, I say, as a fellow overweight New Jerseyan, okay, you have to at least acknowledge what you look like. You're gonna Trump, with your gigantic gut, you're gonna talk about how other people are fat? At least have the decency to be self-deprecating. To at least, I live in a glass. So something, anything, right? No, that idiot thinks he's good looking. We did it on the show before. He's like, oh, women find me attractive. You moron, they find your dad's money attractive. Oh, your whole life you've been thinking that they found your fat, disgusting ass attractive? Even your own wife won't even hold your hand. She's grossed out by you. I'm grossed out by her marrying you for the money, but that's all that anybody's ever married you for. You fool. So go ahead, give us more fodder for this, because I mean that is as hilariously ironic as statement as you will ever find.
Yeah, it's definitely projection, right? He's upset that Ron DeSantis is gaining political traction and is a formidable opponent if he runs in 2024. Trump's super insecure about this. And what does he do? He projects his own insecurities. And he's like, well, that guy's fat. It's like, what a substantive critique against your political opponent. Thank you.
Jessica, to your point, two things about that. First of all, I got 1,000 critiques of Ron DeSantis. Fat isn't one of them. I can't even tell if he's fat or not. But compared to Trump, he's like a twig. Trump is infinitely fatter than Ron DeSantis if we're having that absurd conversation. But you nailed it. What's actually happening here is the ultimate irony. Trump is whining about Ron DeSantis. I don't like him. He's now getting more popular. I don't want anybody to be more popular than me. He's fat. He's phony. He's whiny. In between, like, in between those sobs, he calls DeSantis whiny. Like, this guy, he's never looked in the mirror in his whole life. And this is what entitlement looks like. There's a lot of rich right-wingers in this country who are absolute hot messes. And because the whole government and media and everything else has been structured around their fat asses their whole life, they look in the mirror thinking, nailed it.
What if his supporters see this, right? And they look at Ron DeSantis and they're like, that's actually a pretty healthy guy. He might be alienating some of his base, but I also think he picks words like this because they're easily repeated, right? His base can say, oh, well, Ron DeSantis is fat, phony, and whiny, so we don't like him, because that's what we heard on Truth Social from Donald Trump, who we listen to all of the time. Oh, my God. It's just interesting how his base takes the information that he puts out. And I would like to believe that he's losing them a little bit, but time will tell.
No way. He's not losing them at all. Okay. I mean, look, to be fair, there's a new poll out, and it's among Republicans, it's tied as to whether he should run again. And he used to have a 20-point edge there. So for the purpose of accuracy, he is losing some internal support. When he's compared to Democrats, all the Republicans are still with him. They're like, oh my God, I would much rather vote for that racist, monster, sexist, liar, con man than any Democrat, because those are the others, and I don't like the others, right? But within internal polling within the Republican Party, yes, he's losing some support, because now people are going, hey, maybe Ron DeSantis can be just as hateful as Donald Trump. Maybe we don't need the man-child who just, I can't even hear him anymore because all he does is cry. But overall, Republican voters, there's no end to their self-delusion. If you ask Republican voters now if Donald Trump is fat or skinny, I guarantee you Trump voters and Republican voters overall would say that he was skinny and that he was a really good-looking guy who has a great physique and a great body, because they live on a different planet. Their minds have been 100% brainwashed. You go talk to a Republican, they'll be like, oh, yes, Trump is good-looking. He has such a good body. Okay, you can't talk to people who are in a cult, and it's his cult.